Welcome back to the channel. Rarest coins today, we're taking a deep dive into a coin that marks a historic milestone in American coinage. The 1976 bicentennial quarter, a coin bearing the dates 17761976, issued to celebrate the 200th anniversary of our nation's independence. We'll explore the history of this coin, its production and varieties, what it's worth, and whether the bold claim that one might be worth $1.9 million holds any real weight. The history and context: in the early 1970s, the United States was preparing to celebrate the bicentennial of the Declaration of Independence. In that context, Congress and the United States Mint authorized special coinage to mark the occasion. One of those was the 1976 quarter, which bears the dual date 17761976 and features a special reverse design depicting a colonial drummer boy and a torch-bearing figure, quite distinctive compared to the standard eagle reverse. Production began in 1975, and coins struck in 1975 and 1976, with the 17761976 date circulated in 1976 and beyond. Because the Mint expected heavy circulation and public interest, massive numbers of these coins were released. According to value guides, over 1.6 billion bicentennial quarters were produced for circulation across the Philadelphia and Denver mints alone. In addition to the standard clad circulation strikes, the San Francisco Mint produced special mint sets and silver versions, 40% silver, of the bicentennial quarter, aimed at collectors rather than everyday use. So this coin is significant historically. It marks the bicentennial, has a special design, was issued in huge numbers, and includes both regular coins and collector-oriented silver and proof versions. Specifications and varieties: let's talk specifics. The standard circulation bicentennial quarter, clad composition, Philadelphia P, mint with no mint mark, or Denver D, is copper-nickel clad, a copper core with outer layers of copper-nickel. According to one source, the clad versions for no mint mark, Philadelphia, and D, Denver, were minted at Philadelphia, no mint mark clad 809, 784, 016 coins. Denver, D, clad 860, 118, 839 coins. Then the San Francisco Mint, mint mark S, produced 40% silver business strikes, 11 million minted, and perhaps 4 million silver-proof quarters. The design difference is obvious. On the obverse, we have President George Washington's portrait, and on the reverse, the drummer boy and torch design instead of the usual eagle. The coin size, weight, and diameter are the same as the standard Washington quarter of that era. The composition is what varies, clad versus 40% silver, and the mint mark/location matters as well. What is it worth? Now we come to the crux: value. For most coins, value depends on condition, grade, composition, clad versus silver, mint mark/variety, and any errors or special features. For the 1976 bicentennial quarter, here is what mainstream value guides tell us. Circulated examples of the standard clad version, no mint mark or D mint mark, are generally worth face value, 25 cents, because of their enormous mintage and abundant survival rate. Uncirculated examples of clad versions might command $1, $5, or more depending on grade, but still modest. The 40% silver versions, S mint mark, business strike, and proof versions can fetch higher, though still typically in the $5, $0 range for many examples. For example, one guide lists MS65 silver version, maybe $2, $5, $40. Error and rare variety coins, for example major doubling, off-center strikes, striking on wrong planchet, etc., can fetch thousands of dollars in some case histories. For example, one 1976 S 40% silver business strike sold for $19,200 at auction for a high-grade specimen. Therefore, the vast majority of 1976 bicentennial quarters are worth very little above face value unless they are in exceptional condition or special variety. Could one be worth $1.90 million? This is the exciting question. Could a 1976 bicentennial quarter realistically be worth $1.9 million? Based on current publicly documented sales and value guides, this would be extremely unlikely for a standard specimen. Here's why. The typical coins are extremely common with hundreds of millions minted. That abundant supply dramatically limits how much premium collectors will pay. unless the coin has a truly unique attribute. Even among special versions, the documented highest sales are in the tens of thousands. For example, $19, 200 for a 1976 silver business strike high grade, not hundreds of thousands or millions. For a coin to reach $1.9 million, it would likely need to be a unique one-of-a-kind error or variety, for instance struck on a totally wrong planchet, or misminted in a way that only one or very few exist, plus in pristine condition, MS-69 or MS-70. And it would need strong collector demand. As of today, there is no widely verified public sale of a 1976 bicentennial quarter at that kind of seven-figure level that matches the standard business strike. Some sources claim $3.1 million for one extremely rare variety coin, but these claims are not uniformly verified in major auction databases. So yes, in theory, if there were a truly unique 1976 quarter with error/variety and perfect grade, then it might command a million-plus price under the right conditions. But for a normal coin, or even a nice uncirculated silver version, expecting $1.9 million is not realistic. What to look for if you have one? If you have a 1976 bicentennial quarter in your collection, or you found one, here are things to check. Mint mark. Look at the obverse or reverse depending on the variety for D, Denver, or S, San Francisco. If no mint mark, then it's Philadelphia. Edge composition. For the silver versions, the edge will appear silver all the way across rather than showing a copper-toned layer for clad versions. That can help identify the 40% silver versions. Reddit users note. Hold the coin sideways. If you see a copper-colored edge, it's clad. If it's all silver in color, you have the 40% silver version. Condition. Is the coin worn? Are details sharp, especially on Washington's portrait and the drummer boy reverse? Uncirculated coins with strong luster and minimal marks command premiums. Varieties/errors. Check for doubled die impressions, letters or date doubled, off-center strikes, misstrikes, wrong metal planchet, etc. These are rare, but when genuine can boost value substantially. For example, some error 1976 quarters have sold for thousands. Certification. If you believe your coin might be rare or high grade, submit it to a major grading service such as Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC. A slabbed coin with graded condition and variety documentation will attract collectors more than an uncertified piece. Realistic expectations. Remember, most of these coins are worth their face value or slightly more. While one might dream of seven-figure values, only the very best, rarest specimens under perfect condition and unique circumstances have any chance of approaching that. Summary and final thoughts to recap. The 1976 bicentennial quarter is a significant and iconic coin marking America's 200th birthday. While it is historically interesting and widely collected, the fact that hundreds of millions were minted means that most examples are very common and of modest value. Clad circulation strikes in ordinary condition are typically worth 25 cents, their face value. Uncirculated or silver versions offer somewhat higher premiums, but still only modest amounts in most cases. The claim of one fetching $1.9 million would require an extremely rare combination of metal, variety, condition, and demand, and at present, there is little, if any, documented evidence of a standard coin reaching that level. If you find one of these quarters in your pocket change or collection, by all means appreciate the history. Check the condition, and if you suspect a rare variety or high grade, get it professionally evaluated. But also keep expectations grounded. For most collectors, it remains a collectible coin more for sentiment and history than for dramatic monetary gain. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the 17761976 bicentennial quarter. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, and feel free to share in the comments if you have one and want to assess whether it might be special. Until next time, happy coin hunting, and I'll see you again soon. Welcome back to the channel. Rarest Coins. Today, we are focusing on one of the modern U.S. quarters that often causes confusion among collectors, the 1996 P. Washington quarter. We will explore its history, the mintage and specifications, typical market values, what would have to be true for one to justify a value like $1.6 million, and then how you should evaluate any that you might own. Let's begin with the background. The Washington quarter was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the birth of President George Washington. The basic design by John Flanagan remained largely unchanged from 1932 through 1998 for the reverse eagle, before the state quarters program began. The composition of the coin changed from silver to clad in 1965, when the mint shifted away from 90% silver. The modern quarters, post-1964, are clad copper-nickel coins, apart from occasional collector silver issues. Now let's zero in on the 1996 P version. The P stands for the United States Mint, Philadelphia, and indicates the coin was struck at the Philadelphia facility. According to reference data, the mintage of the 1996 P Washington quarter was 925,040,000 coins. The coin's specifications: diameter about 24.30 millimeters, weight about 5.67 g, clad composition with a copper core and copper-nickel outer layers. Because almost a billion were struck, the 1996 P quarter is a very high mintage, common coin in general circulation. What does that mean? It means that for most specimens, especially those circulated or even lightly worn, this coin is very common and not inherently rare. That sets the stage for realistic expectations about value. Let's look at typical market values. Reference guides show that a circulated 1996 P Washington quarter is usually worth its face value, or maybe a little more, depending on condition. For example, one guide lists 25 cents for average circulated examples. For uncirculated examples, mint state, values increase somewhat. One site lists values like around $12 or so for a high-grade 1996 P example. One detailed value guide reports that an MS-68 example of the 1996 P sold for US $1,998 at auction in 2012. So even very high-grade specimens of this common circulation date are fetching in the low thousands, not mid-six figures. So let's ask the bold question. Could a 1996 P Washington quarter realistically be worth $1.6 million? In practical numismatic terms, here is what would need to be true for that claim to even begin to hold water. 1. The coin would need to be in absolutely pristine, nearly perfect condition, likely graded MS-69 or MS-70, the highest possible grades, by a major grading service such as Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC. Point 2. It would need to represent a very rare variety, an error, or a unique combination of features, for example a major double die, an off-center strike of huge magnitude, a planchet error, or some historically significant provenance that makes it dramatically scarcer than the vast run of common specimens. Point 3. It would need to be unique or nearly unique, a type that collectors recognize as extremely scarce and highly coveted. Point 4. The auction marketplace would need to sanction the price, meaning genuine demand from deep-pocketed collectors or investors willing to pay the seven-figure price. Point 5. There would need to be documented evidence of such a sale, or at least credible bids in that range, to support the valuation. Since the 1996 P mintage is so large, and there is no publicly documented sale of such a coin at or near $1.6 million, the claim appears highly speculative and almost certainly applies only if some extraordinary error or unrecognized rarity is present. And even then one would need to validate provenance, grading, and demand. As one value guide succinctly puts it, the 1996 Washington quarter, regular and ordinary 1996 quarter coins are traded at their face value. Some special characteristics make examples more valuable, but still not millions. So if you're watching this because you have a 1996 P Washington quarter in your hand, here are some practical evaluation steps you should take. Confirm the date and mint mark. Ensure that the coin is properly dated 1996 and has the P mint mark, indicating Philadelphia. Assess condition. How much wear does the coin show? Are the features sharp and crisp? A true mint state coin will have full detail, full luster, no wear, minimal contact marks, and excellent strike quality. Look for major errors or varieties. Check for double die, particularly at lettering or behind Washington's ear, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, wrong planchets, major die cracks, or any other unusual features. These may raise value significantly beyond the standard. One reference notes error coins like a 1996 PDDO double die obverse behind Washington's ear as being a factor. Check for grading and certification. If you believe you have something special, a credible professional grading by PCGS or NGC will add a lot of credibility and help you realize value. I research market evidence, explore auction records, collector forums, graded coin population reports. Because for a claim of $1.6 million, you need comparable sales or at least strong demand evidence. Manage expectations. For most 1996p Washington quarters, especially those found in pocket change or mixed rolls, the realistic value is likely face value, 25 cents, or modestly above if in very high mint state. The $1 million level is for extreme, near-unique specimens only. Let's wrap up with our overall take. The 1996p Washington quarter is a solid piece of modern U.S. coinage, common in circulation and easily found. Because of its high mintage, over 925 million, it is not inherently rare. As such, most examples are worth only face value or a small premium if in uncirculated condition. The claim that one is worth $1.6 million is extraordinary and would require extraordinary evidence, near-perfect grade, a rare error or variety, recognized provenance, and buyer demand at the very highest level. Without those, the coin remains a common piece of your collection rather than a seven-figure investment. If you found one in your collection or in change, by all means check it out. Hold it up to a loupe. Consider whether it might qualify as one of those rare exceptions. If you believe you have something special, reach out to a reputable coin dealer or submit it for grading. But if it's a standard 1996p quarter in circulated condition, it's wise to treat it as a nice, everyday coin rather than a $1 million find. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the 1996p Washington quarter. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe, and drop a comment below if you have one and want help assessing it. See you next time, and happy coin hunting. If you like, I can prepare a version with on-screen segments, chapter markers, e.g., history, specifications, market value. Could it be worth $1.6 million? How to evaluate yours, and visual cues for B-roll and close-up shots. Do you want that? Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a detailed look at one of the modern circulation coins that often draws curiosity, the 1992D Washington quarter. We'll dig into what makes it, where it comes from, what its typical value is, and whether the claim that it could be worth $1.4 million holds any water. If you found one or have it tucked away, this is an important watch. Let's begin with the background. The Washington quarter design was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of President George Washington's birth. Over the decades, the coin's reverse and composition changed, but the obverse remained Washington's portrait. By the 1960s, the U.S. Mint had shifted business strike quarters to the copper-nickel-clad composition, and the coin became part of everyday circulation. The year 1992 is well into that clad era, so the 1992D quarter is not a silver coin. It's a standard circulation strike made for general use. The D Mint mark identifies it as struck at the Denver Mint, Denver, Colorado. According to reference data, the mintage for the 1992D Washington quarter was 389,777,107 coins. The composition, 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel on the outer layers, over a copper core. Its diameter is about 24.3 millimeters, and it weighs roughly 5.67 grams. Because nearly 390 million were produced just at Denver for that date, this coin is very common. That large supply means that for most coins, even in good condition, the rarity factor is low. That in turn strongly limits what collectors are willing to pay beyond face value. Let's look at market values. According to major value guides, a circulated 1992D Washington quarter in average condition, showing where, used in commerce, will generally be worth its face value, around 25 cents. One coin value site lists an average of about 26 cents for circulated examples. For uncirculated coins, those that never saw wear, still mint fresh, values are higher but modest. One guide lists prices up to about $18.19 for an uncirculated 1992D in the top ungraded condition. Auction records show that a 1992 D Washington quarter graded MS-67 by PCGS sold for $1,763 on November 1, 2013. More broadly, one value guide lists the uncirculated price for 1992 D up to maybe $1,700, depending on grade, but no evidence of multi-hundred-thousand or million-dollar sales. So from those data points, the typical values for this coin range from face value for worn pieces, a few dollars to a couple dozen dollars for better grade uncirculated, and a few $1,000s for top graded MS-67 and above. Nothing in the standard documented record approaches the seven-figure range. Now let's address the big question. Could a 1992 D Washington quarter really be worth $1.4 million? Realistically, let's see what would need to be true for this claim to hold up, and why it appears extremely unlikely. For a 1992 D Washington quarter to fetch $1.4 million, it would likely require 1. Exceptional condition, a coin graded at the absolute top of the scale, for example MS-69 or MS-70, with flawless surfaces, full mint luster, perfect strike, no blemishes, etc. 2. A significant error or variety, something very unusual that separates it from the standard business strike. For example, a dramatic misstrike, a rare die variety never previously seen, or wrong planchet, wrong metal, etc. 3. Strong provenance, documentation showing the coin's origin, that it came from a special find, unusual sample or mint error run, etc. 4. Market demand, a collector willing to pay that seven-figure sum, often competing in an auction setting with others wanting the same coin. 5. Recognition in numismatic records, auction records, grading population reports, and serious collectors acknowledging the coin as uniquely rare, given the large mintage of 389 million plus. A standard 1992 D quarter has none of the scarcity characteristics that typically generate million-dollar values. And as of now, there is no publicly documented sale of a 1992 D Washington quarter in the seven-figure range. The highest verified auction result is in the low thousands. Therefore, the claim that one is worth $1.4 million is, for a standard issue coin, almost certainly unfounded. If someone is making that claim, one should demand documented evidence, grading certification, error verification, and comparable sales. Without those, it is highly speculative or simply incorrect. If you or someone else has a 1992 D Washington quarter, here's how you should evaluate it. Check the mint mark, the D mint mark behind Washington's hairline for the Denver Mint. Examine condition. Look for wear on Washington's hair, high points of the design. If present, it's circulated. A true mint state coin means no wear at all. Look for unusual features or errors. Is there doubling in the lettering or date? Is there an off-center strike? Is the planchet wrong? These can add value, but must be genuine errors, not post-mint damage. Reddit collector's note. Weird 1992 D quarter. Not really sure what I'm looking at here. Seems like a divot from when it was minted, but many of those weird coins turn out to be damage, not mint error, and damage does not add value. Certification. If you believe you have something extraordinary, getting the coin slabbed, graded, by a reputable grading company such as PCGS or NGC is critical. A certified high grade with documented error/variety is far more valuable than an uncertified coin. Realistic expectations. For a typical 1992 D quarter, your expectation should be modest value. If the coin is ordinary, circulated, and found in change, it is unlikely to fetch more than its face value or a small premium. If it is uncirculated, you might see a few dollars to tens of dollars. If it is a genuine high-grade specimen, MS-65 plus, perhaps hundreds or a few thousand. But millions? Not supported by current evidence for this date and mint. Let's summarize. The 1992 D Washington quarter is a common modern circulation coin with very high mintage. Its value for most pieces is negligible above face value. Only in exceptional cases, extraordinarily high grade, certified, and with a rare genuine variety or error, might the value rise significantly. The claim that one is worth $1.4 million is essentially unsupported unless all rarity/error/condition/demand boxes are checked and documented. For most people with one in their collection or found in change, it remains a fascinating piece of coinage history, but not a lottery ticket. Thank you for watching this in-depth look at the 1992 D Washington quarter. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment if you have one and want to ask whether yours might be special. Until next time, happy coin hunting, and I'll see you in the next video. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing a deep dive into one of the modern US quarters that sometimes causes a stir among collectors, the 1991 P Washington quarter. We'll cover its background, specifications, mintage, market value, what makes a difference in its value, and we'll also address the question, could one of these really be worth $1.3 million? Let's find out. Let's start with some background. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the birth of President George Washington. The design features Washington on the obverse, and for many decades the reverse displayed a heraldic eagle. Over time, the coin's metal composition changed, and by the 1960s the U.S. Mint changed from silver to a copper-nickel clad composition for regular circulation quarters. So by 1991 the quarter is part of the standard clad era. Now, let's focus on the 1991 P version. The P stands for the Philadelphia Mint. According to numismatic data, the Philadelphia Mint struck 570,968,000 of the 1991 quarters. That's a very large mintage. The coin is made of clad metal, 91.67% copper, 8.33% nickel, over a copper core. The diameter is 24.3 millimeters and weighed about 5.67 grams. What does that tell us? Because the mintage is so high, the coin is very common. That means for most people who find one in change or have one in a collection, the value is not very high. And that brings us to typical market values. According to value guides, a circulated 1991 P quarter is generally worth its face value, 25 cents. In lightly worn or uncirculated condition, the value rises modestly. Some guides say uncirculated examples might be worth from $1 to $15 or so. Some value guides say examples graded MS67 or similar might fetch a few $100s. For example, one source noted a most valuable 1991 P was sold at roughly $492 in 2013 for an MS67. So far, so good. Other value guides show slightly bigger extremes, but still far from the many hundreds thousands range. For example, one guide for modern quarter errors/varieties lists a 1991 P in MS66 or MS67 might bring up to $2 depending on condition and certifications. So if you hold one of these coins, you shouldn't expect to pull a windfall unless the example is extraordinary. Now let's talk about what would have to happen for one of these to reach or approach the figure you might have heard, $1.3 million. For a 1991 P quarter to fetch that kind of money, it would basically need to combine several very rare and extreme features. 1. The coin would need to be in near-perfect condition, likely graded by a major grading service, PCGS, NGC, as MS68, MS69, or better. It would have to be flawless, full strikes, perfect surfaces, no marks, strong luster point too. It might need to have a major error or variety that is extremely rare, such as a dramatic die break, significant double die, major misstrike, extremely rare mint error, something that sets it apart from the standard business strike point 3. It would need strong provenance, documentation of its origin, first-day strike or special set, and likely be offered in an auction where multiple bidders compete. Point 4. It would need to buck the general supply/demand curve. Because the mintage is so high, sheer scarcity is not on its side. So for a standard business strike 1991 P, even in perfect condition, the fact so many were made works against huge premium. Point 5. The market would have to place extra value on the coin, either via historical significance, rarity of high-grade condition in that run, or a dramatic error recognized by specialists. Given all that, the standard reference value guides do not support a realistic $1.3 million value for a typical 1991 P Washington quarter business strike. The highest documented sales for that date and mint appear at the hundreds of dollars level, not millions. Therefore, if someone claims a 1991 P Washington quarter is worth $1.3 million, you should be extremely cautious. It may be a mismarketing, an error coin with extraordinary attributes, and if so, you'll want documentation and grading. or simply incorrect at SO for collectors or folks coming across a 1991p quarter. Here are the key things to check. Confirm the mint mark. For 1991p, the mint mark, P, for Philadelphia, should be present, or sometimes no mint mark, depending on how the particular coin is listed. Examine condition. How much wear is there? Are the rim, lettering, details sharp? Are there any scratches, marks, corrosion, toning? Higher grade coins matter. Look for errors or special varieties. Is there doubling on lettering, major die breaks, misstrikes, off-center strikes, planchet errors, etc.? Many guide sources mention that error coins fetch premiums. Certification and grading. If you believe you might have a high-grade specimen or rare variety, having the coin slabbed by PCGS, NGC, or another major grading service adds credibility and makes it easier to realize value. Realistic expectations. For most people with a 1991p quarter, the coin is worth face value or modestly above if in uncirculated condition. Don't rely on a standard piece fetching 6 or 7-figure sums unless it ticks the very rare boxes mentioned above. Let's summarize. The 1991p Washington quarter is part of the standard clad era, with large mintage, about 570 million. For most examples in circulation, it is worth face value. For uncirculated, high-grade, or rare error coins, the value can go into the hundreds of dollars, maybe low thousands in very rare cases. But there is no widely documented example of this date, and mint fetching $1.3 million, or anywhere near. If someone claims such a value, investigate all the supporting evidence, grading, error status, and auction results. If you're coin hunting or just checking your change, yes, keep an eye out for 1,991 quarters. If you find one that looks virtually perfect, is uncirculated, has unusual features or errors, it's worth further inspection and possibly grading. But for the typical 1991p quarter, you'll likely be looking at modest value. Thank you for watching this deep dive. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like and subscribe. Drop a comment if you have a 1991p quarter and you're wondering whether it might be special. Until next time, happy coin hunting, and I'll see you in the next video. If you like, I can also prepare a version of the script broken into chapters with on-screen prompts, B-roll suggestions, coin close UPS, grading shots, mint history visuals, and timing cues. Would you like that? Hello, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a coin that often sparks interest, the 1982p Washington quarter. We'll talk about its history, how many were minted, what factors affect its value, what realistic prices look like, and then address the bold claim that a 1982p Washington quarter could be worth $1.4 million. Is that possible? Let's find out. First, some background. The Washington quarter series was introduced in 1932 to honor President George Washington. Over time, the coin design and composition changed. From 1965 onwards, the U.S. Mint shifted from silver to a clad composition of copper and nickel for business strikes. The 1982 quarters are part of that clad era. Now let's focus on the 1982p Washington quarter. The P stands for the Philadelphia Mint, where it was struck. According to records, the mintage from the Philadelphia Mint in 1982 was 500,931,000 coins. That is a very large number, 500 million. For the Denver Mint, the mintage, 1982D, was 480,042,788. Because of that high mintage, at first glance you'd expect the coin to be common in circulation. And in fact it is. Many are still out there in regular change. But here's where nuance comes in. Collectors care a lot about condition, how well preserved the coin is, mint mark, P versus D versus S, and whether the coin is certified or has a rare error or variety. Let's talk about composition and technical specs. The 1982p Washington quarter is in clad copper nickel, composition, not silver. According to coin reference guides, the composition is 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel for the outer layer over a copper core. The diameter is about 24.3 millimeters and the mass about 5.67 grams. Now value. If you find a 1982p Washington quarter in circulated condition, meaning signs of wear from use, you're generally looking at face value or slightly above. For example, one guide says, a well-worn 1982p quarter is worth its face value of 25 cents. For lightly worn or uncirculated coins, the price goes up somewhat. One source notes that uncirculated 1982p quarters often sell for $8 to $10 a piece, depending on quality. Another reference shows that higher-grade coins, mint state, might fetch $42 in one chart and up to a few $100s in very rare states. As an example of the upper end, there was an auction record of a 1982p Washington quarter graded MS-68 that sold for about $10,200 in 2019. Even so, that's far from $1.4 million. So where might the claim of $1.4 million come from? It likely stems from misunderstanding or mismarketing. A coin with an extremely rare error or variety, in flawless condition, certified by a major grading service, could command a large premium. For example, some collector coins have sold for tens of thousands of dollars. But claiming $1.4 million for a 1982p Washington quarter would imply it's the single best example of its kind, perhaps with a major error, extremely rare strike condition, and extremely high collector demand. There is no widely documented sale for that amount for this date and mint in the standard business strike. All reference values show much lower numbers that it's important to emphasize. Just because a coin is dated 1982p doesn't automatically make it worth huge money. The condition matters hugely. The mint mark matters. The coin must be authenticated, graded, and verified. And the market must be willing to pay. Many coins you might find in change will be worth face value only. As one Reddit collector put it, about 24 more and you can buy 1 gallon of gas, referring to a 1982 quarter in regular circulation. So for viewers, if you have a 1982p Washington quarter, here are things to check. 1. Mint mark. Look for the P on the coin to confirm it's Philadelphia. 2. Condition: is it worn? Does it have full details? Are the rims punched? Is there luster? 3. Certification: has it been graded by reliable coin grading services, e.g., PCGS, NGC, and given a high mint state grade like MS-65, MS-67, or MS-68? 4. Errors/varieties. Are there major die errors, planchet errors, misstrikes, off-center strikes? These might add value. 5. Authentication and documentation. Be wary of claims without certification and provenance. 6. Realistic expectations. For typical circulated examples, the value is very low, face value, or slightly above. For high-grade examples, value can climb to thousands. But millions would require extraordinary rarity and condition. Now let's summarize. The 1982p Washington quarter is a coin with a large mintage at the Philadelphia Mint, clad copper-nickel composition, and generally low value for most examples. It becomes interesting only if the coin is an extremely high grade, certified, maybe with a recognized error or variety. The claim of $1.4 million is not supported by standard reference sales for the type. It would be an extreme outlier if true. If you believe you have such a specimen, you should get it professionally graded, documented, and market tested. And for anyone searching their pocket change, yes, keep an eye out for 1982 quarters, particularly 1982p or 1982d, because high-grade specimens are scarce relative to their large mintage. But don't expect windfalls unless you have something extraordinary. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please like and subscribe, and drop a comment if you found a 1982 quarter you think might be special. Until next time, happy coin hunting. Feel free to modify, shorten, or expand this as needed for your video style. If you'd like a version with on-screen prompts, section headers, or visuals suggested, I can prepare that too. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a detailed look at the modern-era coin that sometimes raises eyebrows among collectors, the 1997D Washington quarter. We'll explore the coin's history, its specifications, common market values for various conditions, and then dive into the big question. Could one possibly be worth $1.2 million? If you found one in your change or tucked it away in a drawer, this video is for you. Historical background: the Washington quarter design has been a mainstay of U.S. coinage since 1932, when it was introduced to mark the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The obverse features Washington facing left, and for many decades the reverse displayed a heraldic eagle. By the late 20th century, the minting of quarters for circulation had shifted entirely to the clad composition, copper core with copper-nickel outer layers. The year 1997 is especially notable because it was one of the final years before a major change in the Washington Quarter Series. On December 1, 1997, the 50 States Commemorative Coin Program Act was signed, paving the way for the state quarters program. Thus, the 1997 D Washington Quarter represents a last of the old design, type coin under the traditional eagle reverse. According to reference data, the Denver Mint struck approximately 599,680,000 of the 1997 D Washington quarters. The composition is the standard clad mixture, roughly 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel for the outer layers over a copper core. With such a high mintage, these coins are very common in circulation. Part 2. Specifications and what to look for. Here are the key specs for the 1997 D Washington Quarter. Mint mark, D, Denver, behind Washington's bust. Year, 1997. Diameter, about 24.3 millimeters. Weight, about 5.67 grams. Composition, clad, copper core with copper-nickel outer layers. For the business strike, mintage at Denver, 599.68 million. In terms of design features, on the obverse you'll see George Washington, the word Liberty at top, In God We Trust to the left, the date, 1997, at bottom. On the reverse you'll see the eagle, United States of America above, E pluribus unum, below the eagle, and quarter dollar at the bottom. When evaluating whether your coin might have extra value, check the sharpness of detail, high points of the design, edge reading, hair on Washington, surface condition, marks, wear, scratches, strike quality and luster. Mint state coins sparkle, circulated ones don't. The mint mark and date clearly legible. For potential error or variety coins, look for signs of doubling, off-center strikes, missing clad layer. Planchet errors. Some guides note that wrong planchet or missing clad layer varieties exist for 1997 quarters. Part 3. What is it worth normally? Because nearly 600 million of these coins exist, standard strike specimens are not rare. Value depends heavily on condition and whether the coin is in mint state or has any special error/variety. Here are typical market values for a circulated 1997 D Washington Quarter, showing where the value is essentially its face value, about 25 cents. Many value guides list around 25 cents for average circulated examples. For lightly circulated/ungraded uncirculated coins, value increases modestly. One guide lists up to around $14.86 for an uncirculated 1997 D. For certified high mint state coins, MS66, MS67, MS68 grades, sale records show more. For example, one PCGS graded MS68 coin sold $4.1708 in May 2019. Value guides also list for MS66, maybe $5.30, MS67 perhaps $4.00, $60, etc. So bottom line, for most people with a 1997 D Washington Quarter, unless it is in exceptional condition or has a recognized error/variety, the realistic value is very modest. Part 4. Could this coin be worth $1.20 million? Now we reach the big question. Could a 1997 D Washington Quarter ever be worth $1.2 million? Let's examine realistically what that would require and whether current evidence supports such a valuation. For a coin of this date and mint to command $1 million value, several rare factors would need to align. 1. Condition. The coin would need to be near perfect, for instance graded MS69 or MS70 by a major grading service, such as PCGS or NGC. It would have to be essentially flawless, with full original luster, perfect strike, no marks or toning that degrade desirability. Point 2. Variety or error. It would likely need to be a unique or nearly unique variety. For example, a dramatic die error, major double die, misstrike, wrong planchet, missing clad layer, that is recognized by the collecting community as extremely rare. Because normal 1997 D coins are common, a standard business strike will not gain such a premium. Point 3. Rarity and provenance. The coin would need documented provenance. Perhaps it comes from a special find, a mint set, or a known error batch. The collector market would need to recognize it as a key piece. Point 4. Market demand. There would have to be a collector willing to pay that kind of price. The seven-figure level is only realistic if there is competition and scarcity. Point 5. Verified sales. There must be auction records or private sales confirming similar values for comparable coins. At present, the documented highest sales for 1997D business strikes are in the low thousands, not hundreds of thousands or millions. For example, the auction record cited by CoinWeek is $1,708 for MS68. Given this, the claim that a 1997D Washington quarter is worth $1.2 million is extremely speculative. For a standard grade specimen, no contemporary market evidence supports anything near that figure. Unless you legitimately have a truly unique error/variety specimen in perfect condition and with strong provenance, expecting $1.2 million is almost certainly unrealistic. Part 5. What you should do if you own one. If you have a 1997D Washington quarter and you're wondering whether it might be special, here's a practical checklist. First, identify it correctly. Make sure the date is 1997. The mint mark is D, Denver. Check condition. Is the coin worn, or does it appear uncirculated? Are there any marks, scratches, signs of cleaning or toning? A high-grade coin will have sharp details, strong luster, no wear-on key design points. Look for error or variety. Does the coin display doubling in letters, off-center strike, missing clad layer, foreign planchet strike, or other unusual features? These features are far rarer and more valuable. Consider grading. If you suspect your coin might be high-grade or error, it may be worthwhile to submit it to a major grading service like PCGS or NGC. A slabbed coin with documented grade and authenticity is much more likely to command higher value. Research market sales. Look up previous auction results for coins of the same date and mint, same grade, and same variety, if any. Compare what similar coins have actually sold for, not just what they are worth on a guide. Maintain realistic expectations. For the common specimen, you're likely looking at modest value. Only very exceptional coins will see significant premiums, and even those may not reach seven figures. Part 6. Summary and final thoughts. To sum up, the 1997D Washington quarter is a modern circulation coin with a large mintage, 599 million, and a standard clad composition. It marks one of the last years of the traditional eagle reverse design. For most coins in everyday condition, its value is essentially face value or only a modest premium if uncirculated. High-grade certified coins do sell for more, sometimes in the hundreds or low thousands of dollars. But there is no credible public record of a 1997D business strike Washington quarter selling for anywhere near $1.2 million. A claim of such value would require a truly exceptional specimen with extreme condition, rare error/variety, and strong collector demand. So if you find a 1997D quarter in your collection or change, by all means appreciate it for what it is. But don't count on it being a multi-million-dollar treasure unless you have documented evidence to support that extraordinary claim. Thanks for watching this detailed deep dive. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment below if you've got a 1997D quarter and want help assessing it. Until next time, happy coin hunting, and I'll see you in the next video.